Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. So today we're going to be talking about the Video Games Europe statement that they put out regarding Stop Killing Games. So Stop Killing Games is trucking along. It is at 1,263,098 signatures, and if I refresh it again it's probably gone up even more. Yeah, 192. I really hope it can cross that 1.4 million threshold. That way we can be absolutely sure that this gets passed and sent in front of the European Union. So, first off, who are Video Games Europe? Well, if you look, it is the exact same companies that you would think of that are putting out pieces against Stop Killing Games. So, of course, it's Warner Brothers, Roblox, Epic Games, EA, Activision, Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, Take-Two, Ubisoft, Bandai, Square Enix. I don't know what the hell Level Infinite is, or Game, or Cell. I'm assuming these are like websites or magazines or something. So yeah, it's all the people that you would imagine are against Stop Killing Games, of course, are putting out a statement on Stop Killing Games. So, Video Games Europe position paper, European petition, Stop Killing Games. Why providing continued support do not work for all games? Shouldn't it be does not work for all games? Why it doesn't work for all games? I don't know. It seems weird to say do not work. Okay. Introduction. The video games industry is committed to consistently providing players with high-quality interactive gaming experiences and recognize the passion and community that grows around its games. The decision to discontinue a game's online service is multifaceted and is never taken lightly and must always be a matter of choice. When it does happen, the industry ensures that players are given fair notice of the prospective changes in compliance with local consumer protection laws. I don't give a fuck as a consumer if the decision to remove the game that I already paid for is a decision that's multifaceted. Get over your fucking selves. Seriously. This document explains the reasons why a video game company may decide to discontinue the functionality supporting the online video game and why this may lead to the video game may no longer be played. Who the fuck wrote this? This has people that are actually from fucking Warner Brothers and Epic and Ubisoft, and they can't even get somebody that can draft something that makes fucking sense. Why this may lead to the video game may no longer... I can't even read your fucking paper, okay? Okay, online video games are interactive entertainment. Unlike a book or film, an online video game is not static work. Online video games are interactive entertainment that combine numerous elements of artistic and intellectual creation with software programming and server infrastructure. Online video games evolve over time after initial release, providing consumers with regular new content, experiences, patches, and updates. This is highly valued by players and is required to compete in the market. It involves significant ongoing development expenditure over years, sometimes decades. Video game companies put significant investment into creating and developing the best interactive entertainment and experience for their passionate player base. Okay, so let's get into the meat and potatoes of why they say that it's okay to not own your products that you buy, right? And before I get into it any further, if buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing. Simple as that. Okay, the right to decide how, when, and for how long to make an online video game services. Come on, guys. Who wrote this? A fucking 4-year-old? Seriously. The right to decide how, when, and for how long to make an online video game service available to players is vital in justifying this cost and fostering continued technical innovation. As rights holders and economic entities, video game companies must remain free to decide when an online game is no longer commercially viable and to continue server support for that game. Nobody has a problem with you ending server support for a video game. Nobody. That's not what Stop Killing Games is about. Imposing a legal obligation to continue server support indefinitely. Stop Killing Games is not telling you to maintain server support. What the fuck? Who is writing this shit? This is supposedly a legit thing. It has a website. It has people on your board. This is... I hate it. I hate these people. Okay. Imposing a legal obligation to continue server support indefinitely or to develop online video games in a specific technical manner that will allow permanent use will raise the cost and risk of develop. Okay, maybe I spoke too soon. They got it in the second one. However, their point is still fucking stupid. Of course it might raise the cost of the video games to make them. But I'm pretty sure that people would much rather own the games that they buy than buying a fucking license that you can take away at any time. It will have a chilling effect on game design. Good. 2 thumbs up. Good. And act as a disincentive from making such games available in Europe. Good. Nobody wants your trash anyway. Nobody wants games that come out and suck you of your money and then go offline forever. Literally nobody wants that. Get the fuck out of here with that. Of course it's going to disincentivize it. That's the entire point of the initiative, is so that developers will make games that people can play after they get, support taken away. It is far from a trivial modification or a simple addition to the game development phase. It would ignore material, reputational, safety, and security concerns. Oh god. While there are video game companies that have elected to enable their online games to live beyond that While there are video game companies that have elected to enable their online games to live beyond that is being proposed their commercial viability, this is and must always be a matter of choice, as it will depend on what is reasonable and appropriate for the specific games company, and audience. No, it shouldn't be a fucking choice. If you sell a game, people should own the fucking game. That shouldn't be a choice. You shouldn't be able to take a game that I paid for because you no longer want to support it. That shouldn't be a choice in the matter. I'm sorry. All video games, whether digital or physical copies, are licensed, which is bullshit. As is the case with virtually all digital works when consumers purchase online games, regardless of the country of sale. What they acquire is a personal license to access and play the copy of a game they have purchased in accordance with the game's terms of service. And guess what? The terms of service should change so that they can't remove the fucking game from your library when they don't want to support it anymore. The consumer does not acquire ownership of that video game. These clear intellectual property rights underpin the entire market and enable the strong investment that the industry has seen for decades. There is no legal uncertainty about the status quo of video games. Why an obligation on video game companies to provide only a limited type of end-of life plan is disproportionate. It is not disproportionate. It is not clear what the initiators of Stop Killing Games petitions seek to achieve as a legal change. How about when you buy the game, you fucking own the game? It's as simple as that. Guess what? Valkyria Chronicles, this game right here, I own this. I can do with it what I want. I can throw it in the trash. I can put it in my computer and make a backup. I can do whatever the fuck I want with this copy of the game. Except for, of course, make a backup and then share it online. Because then, yes, that is piracy. But of course, games now, you don't have this freedom. Most of them, you don't. This is what we want back. It's as simple as that. Didn't mean to throw that case. Okay. Okay. It appears to be a combination of a requirement to provide online services for as long as a consumer wants them. That is not what is ever stated. Ever, regardless of price paid, it has never stated that, and or a requirement to provide a very specific form of end-of-life plan where the game is altered to enable private servers to operate. Yes. We do not believe these are proportionate demands. They are proportionate demands. Online video games are complex operations. They offer interactive features that are supported by multiple servers, enabling functionality of ever-increasing complexity. Well, guess what? Stop making overly complex bullshit with 50,000 microtransactions, where if you want to buy everything in the game, you would have to be as rich as a fucking billionaire. How about that? Stop making predatory games. This is integral to the modern gameplay experience that players that nobody expects. I mean, yeah, people expect bullshit, but you don't have to put out bullshit. As consumer expectations for more engaging and evolving content increases, these online features are increasingly becoming intertwined in the overall gameplay experience as opposed to being limited to a dedicated online mode within the game. In many video games, this interconnected dependency makes it difficult to cleanly segregate online features from offline functionality. Here are the ways in which players and companies would be affected. Okay, now let's read the bullshit. Okay, player safety. Reduced or no player protection. Requiring games to run on private servers will result in the inability for game companies to continue to protect players from illegal or harmful content or conduct, as their moderation and player safety teams would no longer be involved. I'm pretty sure that's in the entire fucking, like, when people say private servers, they understand that it's player ran. And get out of here with this bullshit harmful content. Fuck off. In particular, cheating would become rampant without proper enforcement, as opposed to not playing the game ever again. Reporting systems designed to allow players to flag problematic content. I hate these people. I fucking hate these people. The absence of effective moderation systems would create a less safe environment for consumers. And I have to read it with the fucking snob voice because it's so stupid. It may foster proliferation of undesirable content while simultaneously frustrating the ability for EU digital service coordinators to act against such content. How about stop being a fucking nanny state? Seriously. I'm so sick of this bullshit. This not only presents a safety risk for consumers, but could also lead to brand reputation issues for the video games company. No, it won't. I can go back right now and play fucking original Ghost Recon with people online. And guess what? I still do. It's a great game. If it was released today, I would never be able to play it again. Some people online might be assholes. They might say racist shit. They might say mean shit. They might post, I don't know, something that makes me mad. But guess what? I would still much rather play the fucking game than not be able to play it and not get my feelings hurt. I hate it. Oh my god. I don't even know how to express the level of my disdain for this. Increased security risk. Releasing game code or server binaries to facilitate the creation of private servers operated by players could expose game companies and consumers to bad actors, malware, data breaches, and DDoS attacks. Again, when you're playing on private servers, it's kind of understood that it's not going to have official support, so of course, negative stuff can happen. Of course. That kind of comes with the territory, you know. Impact on companies. Won't somebody think of the billionaires? Significant engineering and architectural changes. Allowing players to run private servers will present significant engineering and architectural changes for many games due to the way in which such online features are integrated with other proprietary systems and services required for the game. Creating a private server compatible version would be a prohibitive cost. I don't give a fuck. You're a fucking multi-million-dollar company. No indie game developer out there is going to be putting out a fucking, like, MMO that's going to have millions of players. I'm sorry. If you're going to be making that kind of server architecture, you have the fucking money to make a version that can be run on private servers. Cry me a fucking river. Creating a private server compatible version will be a prohibitive cost. I don't know why I can't say that word right now. In some cases, years or decades after the game's initial release, when only a small audience remains. I don't care. That game should still be playable. Sorry. Negative impact on investment in games, jobs, growth, and consumer choice. Negative consumer choice. How are they going to weasel word their way into this one? Ensuring an online game can work without official server support requires a significant investment of engineering resources, making it a very costly exercise for video game companies. Good. Many of the costs that game companies would incur in implementing an end-of-life plan would have to be incurred towards the end of the commercial life of the game, when it is no longer commercially viable to continue support. Instead, make the fucking game with this in it to begin with. Of course, and then roll out the patch at the end of the lifespan when, people can make private servers. Or be a fucking good developer and make it so people can play over local area network, or they can play peer to peer. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna cry because you can't fucking be scumbags anymore. I'm sorry. Okay. Creating a okay, let's see if I missed anything. Wait, I was down here. Okay. Requirements to implement such plans could lead to less risk-taking, fewer investment projects in developing new games, and potentially fewer jobs. Ultimately, could lead to increased costs for consumers and less. Are they saying less choice of games? Is that their? Is that their fucking argument? That it's less consumer choice because less companies are going to be making games that ask for your fucking wallet every 5 seconds for the newest skin that they're going to FOMO by saying it's only available for 2 hours. There's less choice. Oh no, people aren't going to be able to play their fucking shitty free-to-play game that asked them for $100 for a fucking skin. I don't give a fuck. Reputational harm. Allowing players to run private servers with online interaction possibilities could result in players using those games in ways that don't align with the game company's brand values. I don't give a fuck. Brand values these days are bullshit. You have the whole DEI bullshit going in most companies. Most companies are racist as fuck, and they're wanting you to not say naughty words in their games, leading to a negative association with the brand, thereby harming its reputation. When people play a private server, they're not associating that with the company in any way. I'm sorry, it's not fucking happening. Erosion of intellectual property rights, because intellectual property rights have been the most fair thing in the world lately. Mandating game companies keep their online games operable post-official support would undermine their rights and autonomy in deciding how their intellectual property is utilized. Well, guess what? When they sell me a fucking bottle, they don't get to take the fucking bottle away. When they sell me a t-shirt, they don't get to take the t-shirt away. When I buy a fucking video game, they shouldn't be able to take the video game away. If that's infringing on their intellectual property rights, good. I want to infringe more. There is a vital interest in maintaining effective copyright protection, including protection against circumvention of technologies that control access to copyrighted video game software, where such circumvention is undertaken in circumstances that will lead to the unauthorized public exploitation of games. Guess what? If buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing. Your games should be pirated, because for one thing, they're fucking terrible games, and again, you're not actually selling the game. You're selling a thing that you can take away at any time. So, yes, piracy of your games is a good thing. Competition from community-supported versions. Such requirement could lead to community-supported versions of games competing with official versions, potentially jeopardizing the financial investments of video game companies. Good! If you can't put out a game that can compete with a fucking private server, then the game shouldn't be on the market. Did you ever think of that? Stop making terrible games that can't even compete against a private server. Forfeiture of licensing and reproduction rights, allowing consumers to create or run modified copies of online games would necessitate game companies either license additional rights or refrain from enforcing them, effectively leading to a forfeiture of control over these rights. Good. Thumbs up. 2 thumbs up. You don't have to convince me more. Constraints from third-party IP. Game companies often utilize third-party software and services, which may have licensing terms restricting their use to the commercial life of the game or prohibiting sub-licensing to players, thereby hindering the modification or patching the games for private servers. In particular, this could jeopardize and infringe the copyright of the musical works and lead to legal action from these rights holders on the basis of unauthorized exploitation of their works. No. Again, I don't understand this. They may have licensing terms restricting their use to the commercial life of the game or prohibiting sub-licensing to players, thereby hindering the modification or patching of games for private servers. If you make this with the game in mind from the beginning, you won't have this fucking problem. Again, guess what? I can get on a PS3 emulator. I don't know about Valkyria Chronicles here. I don't even think this was an online game. But Metal Gear Solid 4, right? People have created servers for that. I can play that online. Guess what? That game has copyrighted music in it. It's not an issue. Constraints from third-party services. Games depend on third-party services such as platforms on which the game is offered to the consumer. Releasing the code for those services would be necessary should a legal requirement allow player communities to run a game. May not be possible as this would potentially be an IP infringement. Furthermore, game companies' servers are increasingly run on the cloud. If cloud servers are discontinued, which sometimes happens, this necessitates either shutting down older titles or creating costly workarounds. The latter may not always be possible. Create costly workarounds. Again, this isn't for games that are already out. This is for any games that are coming out in the future. If you have this as a regulation for games in the future, you won't have to deal with this bullshit. All of the above would also affect compliance with PEGI ratings. Where a game has a PEGI age rating and offers multiplayer functionality, the game company is contractually bound by the PEGI Code of Conduct to respect various obligations related to online safety and privacy. The inability to do so would expose games company to legal uncertainty with respect to its contractual obligations under the PEGI Code of Conduct. I don't get it. Where's a fucking old game? And I mean old. Where's an old game? I don't know. Well, let's take fucking Operation Flashpoint, right? Operation Flashpoint. On here, it's Operation Flashpoint Elite. Online, it's Arma, Cold War, Assault, or whatever. Like, you can still play that game online. It has LAN functionality, as far as I'm aware. You can run a server. What does PEGI say about that? What about all of these games that have LAN functionality? That have it where you connect peer-to-peer? I don't understand these. I don't understand it. Maybe I need a fucking lawyer here to talk to me. The importance of consumer protection laws. Notwithstanding the applicable licensing structure, all video games offered to players in the EU are subject to European consumer protection laws, which include robust transparency and fairness obligations on game companies and ensure that game companies act reasonably when terminating online support for a game. Guess what? It is never reasonable for a company to say, guess what? You paid $70 for our game, and now you just can't play it anymore. That's never reasonable. Never. Okay, games are licensed to the consumer in accordance with their terms of service. These set out the terms upon which the consumers may access and play such games and the situations in which such license rights may be terminated. Consumers are informed that their access to online games and associated services may terminate and are informed with sufficient notice in cases where that does happen. Well, I'm sorry, but a lot of terms of service, especially in fucking Activision Blizzard games, said that they can take away your access to the game for no reason. Fair terms of service or bullshit? You tell me. Transparency. The player must be given reasonable prior notice before any termination of access to the game. Reasonable. Define reasonable for legalese experts out there. No, that's called a legal loophole. You would have to argue reasonable in court. Reimbursement. The Digital Content Directive provides consumers with price reduction and reimbursement rights in certain circumstances, but also with repair and replacement rights if a game service fails to achieve conformity with certain required warranties. I'm sorry, but I don't see people getting fucking refunded. EU legislation requires that the service aspects of online video games be provided for a reasonable amount. Again, reasonable amount of time. Taking into account all relevant factors, it would be disproportionate for a specific duration to be imposed, as this would need to be valid for all types of services, not just games. No, this is specifically about video games. Fair terms. The Unfair Terms Directive prohibits games companies from imposing terms on consumers that significantly imbalance the parties' rights and obligations to the detriment of consumers. Except a lot of companies are doing that already by saying that they can take away your game for any reason. For any reason. Video game companies are committed to Fuck off. Fuck right off. Video game companies are committed to the preservation of games and their cultural value. No, they're not. No, they're fucking... They have a Nintendo of Europe guy on here. And they're telling me that they're committed to the preservation of games and their cultural value. It is important to separate the legal proposals made by the petitioners for the specific end-of-life requirements for commercial video games from the question of the preservation of games as creative and cultural works. Video Games Europe and their member companies are committed to and actively support serious professional efforts to preserve video games and recognize the industry's creative contributions under circumstances that do not jeopardize game companies' rights under copyright law. For example, members regularly donate game copies and hardware to preservation organizations and support museum exhibitions featuring games. God, I can't read after all this. Okay. Other video game companies have undertaken gigantic tasks of creating video game libraries to support the preservation of games. However, the industry's innovation and economic activity depends on the strong copyright protection for the software and other creative works that are its lifeblood, and preservation efforts should not be confused with uses that could conflict with the normal exploitation of the work by the right holder and unreasonably prejudice the legitimate interest of the author. I'm sorry, I don't give a fuck. Again, games should be bought, they should be owned. I bought this copy of a game, I can use it in any PS3, I can give it to a friend, I can, even in some cases, like I said with Metal Gear Solid 4, people have made private servers that should be legal. Games should be created with the express intent that the game can be played indefinitely. Not as long as it's connected to an online server, indefinitely. And if that means they have to take away some intellectual property rights, good. I don't care. And the fact that you're saying that video game companies are committed to the preservation of games, bull fucking shit. Bullshit. You know that's bullshit. This entire fucking document, not only was it badly written with many grammatical errors, it just completely misses the point of the initiative, and it lies. So no, do not listen to the Warner Brothers Games, Epic Games, Roblox, Activision, Microsoft, all of the worst companies out there that make terrible games, that make games that constantly beg for your money, that put out microtransactions out the ass in their games. Do not listen to what they have to say about Stop Killing Games. These are the companies that need to burn to the fucking ground so that people who are actually passionate about video games can rise to the top. So yeah, they're coming out of the fucking woodwork against Stop Killing Games. And guess what? 1,263,820 signatures. Now, does that mean the European Union is going to do anything about it? No. They probably have lobbyists in their ear from, all of this shit that they're just going to listen to these assholes. So yeah. That's about it. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video if you disliked the video. I'm sorry I got more angry in this one and ranty. But I can't read this stuff without just... It pisses me off. I'm someone who is so passionate about video games. Like, I love the medium of video games. I love that I have physical copies of older games. I love that I can download an emulator and play games that I would have to pay $500 for. And seeing all these game companies come out after putting out absolute garbage for the past 5 to 10 years and say that, oh no, our bottom line is going to, we're going to see a tank in revenue because now people are going to be able to play the games after we stop supporting them. Good fucking riddance. I don't care. I'm done caring at this point. Like, just let me buy a fucking game and play it as long as I want. It should be indefinite. When World of Warcraft goes offline, and it probably will at some point, private servers should be allowed to run. Same with any MMORPG. Private servers should be allowed to run. Because video games are important as an artistic medium. And people should be able to play them into the future. We should be able to show our kids and our grandkids and great-grandkids all of the games that we used to play. They should be able to go back and play games from the Atari 2600 to the PlayStation 5 and on. And there shouldn't be any bullshit laws that say that, oh, you downloaded a ROM of an Atari 2600 game. That infringes Activision's copyright laws. No. Or, oh, you downloaded an NES game. Or a Super Nintendo, or even a fucking PS3 game. There shouldn't be laws against that. I'm sorry. Your intellectual property rights should not be more important than our right to ownership and preservation of media. And again, if this is like any other medium, if this was movies, the thing is, movies are preserved so easily. You can get a DVD and rip it onto a computer, and you have that movie as a digital file that you can copy around everywhere, and it's protected. With video games, it's so much more difficult because it's tied to specific hardware. Like the NES and the SNES and the N64. You have to have an emulator. You have to have people that try to emulate that hardware so the software can play. So no, video games are different than movies and music. It is an entirely different medium. It's the combination of every artistic endeavor into one singular form. I don't know. I hate these people. I hate everything they stand for. I hate these gaming companies that treat video games as if they're disposable products that they can just throw out there and have people sink hundreds or thousands of dollars into. And then they just pull the plug because not enough people were spending $1,000 on our microtransactions. And then 2 seconds later, they put out a new game that's just as scummy and shady. I'm not gonna fucking cry for you to do that to this industry that I care about and I love. I'm sorry. Like, yeah. That's about it. Like the video if you liked the video, dislike the video. I think I already said that. I'm just rambling at this point. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.